Story 1. Life is unpredictable. Some factors we do not account for. Others we do, yet still cannot overcome. Story 2. Many people do not fully understand the hurdles they face or the impact of what they have been through. It may be trauma, constant setbacks, changes in their environment, or circumstances that prevent them from pursuing their goals. Sometimes they need to address personal issues or are stuck in difficult situations. Story 3. The only people I have ever seen or heard of who reached their goals are those who ignored everything and everyone to focus solely on them. Hence the saying, it is lonely at the top. Any relationship or thing that does not directly contribute to your goal is a distraction that should be removed. After all, how can you achieve your goal if you are constantly being distracted? Story 4. Unexpected setbacks happen because that is just life. People become ill, sustain injuries, or become burned out, and so on. Story 5. Reality often differs from how people plan. It is easy to tell someone to get a degree, but actually doing so takes 4 years of your life if you are lucky, and longer if you are not. Planning to fall in love and have children does not guarantee that it will happen. Discovering major health concerns can stop your plans midway. Mental illness can strike without warning and derail your life as you learn to cope. In short, nothing is guaranteed. Life-changing events occur when you least expect them. Story 6. The disadvantages people start with: where you are born, the kind of support you have, and the opportunities around you can shape everything. Some people are running uphill from day one. Story 7. More than likely it is because they are being manipulated without realizing it. Story 8. I do not think reaching or not reaching matters that much. It is the effort that counts. Try your best and discover the limits of your potential. When you reach your goal, it often does not feel the way you expected. It is the journey that matters. Story 9. People often make plans and then treat any deviation from them as failure. View opportunities as target goals while remembering that goals and situations change. Be flexible and learn to redefine your idea of success. Story 10. There are too many reasons to list. Some people are very smart and work hard but are unlucky. Some are not as smart as they think. Some are lazy, entitled, and expect good things without much effort. There are countless reasons why people do not attain their goals in life. The saddest are those who give up. Life is unfair and difficult, but many could do more and choose not to. They coast and do only what is required. Being taken advantage of by large corporations is not acceptable. Many respond by doing the bare minimum, and that attitude often carries over into their lives outside work. Many salaried workers no longer work overtime. Are they using that time to work a second job, save for a down payment, or pay down their mortgage? Are they taking classes instead? Many talented, hard-working people become burned out. I understand this from decades in corporate America and from being almost 60. Do not let work determine your life outside of work. Keep working on yourself to achieve your goals. It is easy to fall into a rut. Story 11. Because those goals usually require a lot of dedication and consistent hard work, most days it is easier to browse Reddit, play games, or watch videos and movies. A lack of privilege or access to opportunities, difficult life circumstances, and physical or mental health issues also make progress more difficult. Story 12. One reason is money. People must focus on it to survive, and it can take attention away from other goals. Story 13. They are inflexible. They ignore moments when they should cut their losses. They are risk-averse and prefer comfortable familiarity to genuine happiness. Story 14. In 1/3 of cases, other people are preventing them in some meaningful way. In 1/3 of cases, they themselves are preventing it in some meaningful way. In 1/3 of cases, the outcome is random. Story 15. People set unreasonable goals. Every year, United States senators may each sponsor 2 individuals for nomination to West Point. If you are not politically connected to a senator, do not have friends in common, or did not grow up near them, you will not have much chance of getting on their radar. Something like this happened to a friend of mine 20 years ago. You can imagine similar situations for anyone famous or highly successful. Most people throughout history have led happy, ordinary lives. Those who aim for exceptional success often fail. That is just one angle, but a lot of it can be seen as a kind of hopeful optimism that I will be different. Luck matters more than any other factor. The Peter Principle may not be a physical law, but it is more than superstition. As much as people try to create meritocratic bubbles, the fundamental forces of nature have no concept of karma or morality. What happens in life is often not related to your thoughts or choices. Surviving to adulthood depends at least as much on luck as on parenting or intelligence. All this is to say that being prepared and knowledgeable is better than not, but it is not nearly enough by itself for general success. Story 16. People who set the tone generally have it easy. You watch an influential figure and think, okay, I'll do the same. But that person grew up with a pony, ate better food, had better teachers, less stressed parents on average, and a baseline social network. So people pick paths to success thinking it's simply follow the line and succeed. In reality, they face severe obstacles to overcome. Avoid falling into drug addiction like some of your high school friends. Avoid contracting sexually transmitted infections. Commit to school while no one in your circle has decent cultural capital. This is why inequalities of privilege lead to inequalities of outcome, and why meritocracy and self-determination, in a liberal sense, are fucking lies. Story 17. As others said, there are many factors. My personal experience. I got incredibly unlucky. I was younger and had the willpower to keep trying until I reached a goal. Then I got more unlucky. Now I'm too tired to try anymore. I rang the bell once. It was great while it lasted, and then it was ripped away from me. More hurdles were put in the way to even reclimb those few steps. I don't even want the same things anymore. Not after having my life's efforts torn from me after being given a taste of success. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't have the energy for it. Time for a new goal. I don't even know what it should be. Probably die without making a mess. That sounds like an easy enough target to reach. If these are your feelings and you are in immediate danger, please contact emergency services or a crisis line. Story 18. In my case, I lacked money. My series of financial supports ended with an undergraduate degree. Postgraduate study beyond my teaching diploma was not an option. I found a day job that allowed me ample time to pursue a career in the arts and performance, but it did not pay much. Eventually, the housing situation became so bad I could not afford to live anywhere close to the action. I made the difficult decision to quit that career, move very far away, and base my family somewhere much cheaper, where I could support 4 people on 1 income. Now the housing situation is poor everywhere, and those 4 people can only be supported on slightly less than 2 full incomes. Story 19. Mindset. If you don't believe you can actually achieve it, you will just self-sabotage. Story 20. Disillusionment is one reason among many. You strive for something, and the closer you get to it, the more you see it's not for you, so you quit and choose something you do like. Story 21. I failed to reach my potential because I was lazy and struggled with alcoholism. Story 22. I have not overcome the many obstacles in my life since childhood. Poor mental health resulting from childhood trauma, together with numerous challenges in adulthood, has made this difficult. I am my own worst enemy. Story 23. We compare ourselves to others too much, and what my target is should not necessarily be the same as yours. Story 24. Goals often feel out of reach, especially when you are young. I remember thinking I could do anything I wanted. As I got older, I realized most of my goals were unrealistic. Story 25. I think people generally do the things they set out to do. Story 26. You can do everything right and still come crashing down with failure. Sometimes it really is just luck and timing. I started a small business that made good money at first, but unbeknownst to me, an economic slowdown was around the corner and it killed the business. All profits were spent keeping the store running in the hope business would come back. But nothing I tried worked. I ended up losing every dime I had except for $3,000, which was soon gone too. Now I work a boring 9-to-5 job that I kind of like but not really. The pay is low. FML. Story 27. Many goals take time and practice to accomplish. Some people do not have the perseverance to stick with their efforts, or they lose hope or confidence after a few setbacks. Story 28. There are a number of things, but at least for me, if I really want something in life, I go out of my way to make sure I get it. The above is better suited to short-term goals, though. I saved a lot for my house deposit, and I do not know if I could do that again. Story 29. I never made any targets. I hoped, kept my nose to the grindstone, and lo and behold, I somehow have everything I vaguely wanted. We had to be creative about it. I won't pretend we are living high on the hog, but we get some bacon. Story 30. The system is unforgiving and makes it very difficult to achieve your goals. It requires a great deal of luck, which not everyone has. Story 31. Unrealistic expectations, such as dreaming too big, lack of planning, and fear. Story 32. You may not see the target because it does not look like what you were expecting. People say humans cannot fly because we do not have wings like birds and we are too heavy, so it seems impossible, yet in another way we do. It is important to keep your mind open enough to recognize your goals even when they are disguised as something else. Story 33. People are reactive and respond to urgent short-term distractions that have nothing to do with their long-term goals. Story 34. Their goals and targets are unrealistic. When you set goals, they should be attainable. Story 35. Sometimes you change and your old goals become unappealing because they belong to somebody else. Either way, I have come to understand that there is a bucket list of things I will regret not doing when I die of old age. I will try to check off most of them. I would say what people regret most is not spending more time with loved ones, not daring to take the risk, or giving up. Story 36. 1. They set vague targets with no plan for how to achieve them. 2. They set too many different targets that they only partially want, making it difficult, if not impossible, to pursue all at once. Story 37. Goals are guesses people make using incomplete information. As you gain information, you may realize a goal is not worth the price. You may run out of time to reach it. You may discover a different, more worthwhile goal, or you may remain unaware of the costs and never put in sufficient effort while believing you will reach it eventually. Ultimately, we make our best guess about what we can accomplish, and sometimes our guesses are not good enough. Story 38. My Asian parents taught me that it's their fault, but I've seen from firsthand experience that the advantages people are given are a much bigger factor. Respect to all people who have never had privileges like mine. The people who feel they have failed are often their own harshest critics. Story 39. They vastly overrate their own talent and value. Most people are inexperienced, temperamental, and working in jobs that match their skill level. So many of my crew ask about promotions, and I think to myself that they get angry about everything and throw things. I should have terminated some of them before they had a chance to consider moving up. But when you are on a small shift, terminating someone drastically impacts operations and adds hours to everyone's day. So they skate by, unaware of how management views them, while we argue with human resources to let us hire a person before we actually need them. Honestly, the whole place is toxic, and I am about 3 promotions away from having an opinion. I think that part is what a lot of idealists do not get. Rocking the boat is reserved for a $250,000 salary position. Everyone else needs to keep their heads down and put in the time. I would love to terminate incompetent and rude people the moment they show their true colors in front of me. But it is not how the real world works in a corporation that settles every case. Story 40. They pursue the big goal immediately instead of setting smaller goals as stepping stones to reach it. Story 41. For me, it's because I'm too lazy to write it down and track it. Story 42. For many people, it is a lack of opportunity. I know that for me, my life would have turned out completely different if I had received some financial help and could have finished college. It was just too expensive. Story 43. Life gets busy, and some goals require years of preparation and investment for a payoff that may never come. For instance, consider drawing or learning an instrument. You might become skilled, or you might be like me with the clumsiest hands on earth, wasting years trying to do something simple and failing miserably. Shit happens. Story 44. A lot of comments in this thread discuss extrinsic factors. I'd say more often than not people are either lazy or lack the resilience necessary when things don't go according to plan. Story 45. People set unrealistic targets and fail every time. Story 46. either a failure to prepare, an unreadiness to accept the challenge, or a lack of perseverance. Story 47. Because they wait until they feel ready, and that day never comes. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. Story 48. 1. Luck. Depending on your goal, this can be the most or least important factor. 2. Personal accountability. People are generally prone to choosing the path of least resistance, which usually does not lead to their goals. 3. Moving goalposts. As you move through life, your targets change. Some goals grow or shrink in importance. More are added. Some are removed. Others shift on your timeline because of opportunities or lack thereof. It is difficult to keep track of and focus on all of these in a meaningful way. This is why people who have a single clear goal often do better than others. 4. Innate ability. Sometimes people set targets without realizing their natural abilities are not well suited to achieve them. This could also be attributed to luck. 5. Other people in the way. I think this happens less often than many realize. People like to complain about others. You can probably think of several examples of people blaming others for some failure, even small ones. For example, I would have been on time, but someone cut me off from my exit, while ignoring that they could have left earlier to allow for such delays. Sometimes others are legitimately in the way, such as a bad boss, a spouse with different goals, or children, but this is less common in my opinion than lack of personal accountability. I am sure there are other reasons, but these 5 come to mind. Story 49. The real answer is time, resources, skill, and competition. What did you want to be when you were a child? For how long? How did you plan to reach that goal? Was it as an athlete or a musician? Did you put in the countless hours of training while also working and attending school? Were you better than the others? Did you want to be a scientist or an artist? Did you have time to study or develop your skills while raising a family? Did someone pay for your schooling, or did you have to take loans? Were your grades better than everyone else's? Story 50. They do not try because they do not think they are capable. Story 51. Some people create goals tied to the system or anxiously seek its most common, stereotypical objectives. Others reject the utilitarian pursuit of achievements promoted by the system. For them, what matters is living in peace, earning a living independently, and resisting mass utilitarianism. Story 52. 3 things. 1. Blaming others. 2. Laziness. 3. Family financial obligations and the cost of living. Someone who must support their family, for example, a teenager who must hand over their paycheck to a parent, has no savings, and receives no financial support from a wealthier family, will struggle no matter how carefully they budget. By contrast, a young person whose family does not force them to pay rent, can co-sign or help with loans, and provides financial support usually does better. Some of those people, however, fall into greed or use the first 2 excuses and fail to improve their situation. Teenagers who leave school to help their families are often forgotten. Story 53. A large portion of your life is good timing. You can do everything right, put things together, and make things work for you, but if you are 1 minute too early, you are disregarded. If you are 1 minute late, you are criticized. Story 54. We live in end-stage capitalism, and even the most basic goals tend to require money. Many of us will never have the luxury to spare. Story 55. People make a plan to succeed, then give up when they encounter an obstacle instead of adjusting it. Story 56. I think the main reason is that I was in an accident and died twice, which did not help. As a result, I feel medical issues are a large part of why people struggle. Story 57. Most people lack the effort or motivation to do so. They may take a few initial steps, but then get discouraged by how hard it is or by a lack of progress and quit. Story 58. Sometimes things are outside your control. For example, the pandemic destroyed people's careers and lives, and artificial intelligence is actively changing employment. During a pandemic, the best you can do is avoid high-risk zones. That does not mean never taking any risk. It means being tactful in your decision-making. Regarding artificial intelligence, support a growing human-run workforce where people have jobs and are treated well rather than devalued. Use your consumer power and vote with your currency. Divest from artificial intelligence and from companies, products, and services that use it. The more you use those services, the more companies can use them against you. Artificial intelligence is often presented as a free convenience. Convenience is like clickbait. It draws attention and keeps consumers returning. If a service is offered for free, you are the product because your data is collected and sold. There are examples of this harming consumers. Data logs have been sold to other parties and used in legal cases. Health information shared with artificial intelligence services has been sold to insurers, leading to higher premiums. What is convenient for you can make it convenient for companies to profit from your information. It is like handing a bad actor the keys to your house, your car, and all your personal information, knowing they will use it to make money. Story 59. Goals take a long time when you are looking for instant gratification. Story 60. Unresolved trauma with symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and major depressive disorder. Story 61. What will be, regardless of how you feel about it. The phrase shit happens comes to mind, or I suppose the best laid plans of mice and men. Story 62. Life gets in the way. Illness, disability, death, job loss. My mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer when I was in high school, which disrupted many of my plans for high school and college. I sustained a disabling injury in my 20s that ended most of my career and travel plans. It also means I cannot have children. Life is what happens when you are making other plans. How you react to the unexpected matters. Only the very lucky can set a plan and simply work toward it without life getting in the way. Story 63. Some people face circumstances outside their control. It is much easier for others to say we are all equal and have equal opportunities, and to put down anyone who fails. Story 64. My only life goals were to get laid and smoke a cigar, which I've done. I don't care if I die tomorrow. Everything else is just side quests. I've already completed the main story. Story 65. Questioning themselves and being too afraid to try. For the record, I am certainly talking about myself here too. Story 66. Fear of failure and waiting for the right time to do something. Story 67. When you try, you find out a lot about yourself, specifically your faults and shortcomings. There's a bit of luck, but only a little. Story 68. A lot of the time you don't get what you want, but you get a version of it that's actually better. Story 69. I think most people find it difficult to pursue their goals. They are often too afraid of failing and do not even try. Story 70. Because they are not fully committed, lack discipline, or allow themselves to be sidetracked. Story 71. Many people care too much about what their friends and family think. If people actually did what they wanted, many of us would be happier and possibly better off financially. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.